Some anthropologists have suggested that the defining quality setting human beings apart from our evolutionary ancestors is not physical but creative. For the purpose of this lesson, we'll talk about art as an act of deliberate creation expression, not just formal paintings and sculpture. Would expect to find in an art gallery. Ancient people had far less access to resources that most of us enjoy in the modern world, and a great deal of their time was devoted to daily survival. Under such conditions, human creativity would rarely be about purely personal expression or basic beautification. Even personal ornaments probably had a spiritual or social function, such as the Ghanaian kente cloth today, with patterns that send a social message and communicate status. Weapons and tools also often had a creative embellishment, and thus ancient art was often both expressive and functional, or having a practical use. The focus of this lesson will be sub-Saharan Africa, since geography isolated Egypt from the main continent and plugged its history into what we call now Western tradition. Let's first focus on some of the great qualities of sub-Saharan traditional African art, including that ancient African visual art tends to be figurative, emphasizing the human form in 3 dimensions, even if that form embodies divine or spiritual beings and functional. African creative culture is highly performative, being rich in dance and music. Both are central to worship, festivals, and social expression. Obviously, we have little record of these activities prior to the modern times. African narrative tradition is oral. In West Africa, a professional class of storytellers or historians emerged called griots. Their orations too were probably accompanied by music in ancient times. The design and layout of African art frequently reveal a concept called fractal geometry. Okay, let's now define the artistic term medium, the genre, before talking about some specific types used in ancient Africa. In art lingo, medium refers to the material or form of which generally comes the stuff which is made of watercolor, oil, pastels, rock, marble, ivory, fabric, digital photography, clay, are all types of media. Genre. Genre indicates the category or classification of the art. Painting, sculpture, dance, architecture, drama, jazz are all genres. Owing to resource availability and other socioeconomic factors, much traditional African art has been created with non-durable perishable media such as wood and other plant fiber. We'll look at some of the exceptions, but to a large extent we have to speculate about the ancient art through the references to more contemporary. The oldest surviving examples of human creativity were done on rock or rock shaped from it. Engravings on ochre, also used as a pigment of the body from the Blombos cave in South Africa, have been dated from 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, making them the oldest examples of ancient African art yet discovered. Their abstract paintings indicate higher order thinking. Blombos also yielded crafted shell beads, bone tools, and other examples of human craft and creativity. A fancy word for rock carvings is petroglyphs. And Africa has a wealth of them, spread from Algeria, Chad, Namibia, Niger, from Tanzania, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Libya. In Badus, the Sahara, a life-sized pair of giraffes highlights the scope of the investment in this ancient art. In fact, giraffe petroglyphs were almost sub-genre of their own, being found often numerous sites across thousands of years and in many different styles. In addition, Las Gil in Somalia is one of the many sites that help trace the development of African herding and livestock domestication by providing us with vibrant visual art in the form of cave paintings, metalwork, ceramics, and masks. Metalwork is more recent phenomenon in Africa, largely because of resource distribution, but the famous bronzes of Benin, actually made of brass in some instances, challenged many European stereotypes when discovered, as did the amazing sculptures of the Yoruba in bronze and even copper, a difficult medium to work with. Various sculptures and plaques date back over 3,500 years ago. The situation is similar with ceramics. African potters did not use the potter's wheel, so vessels are heavy but also fragile. Nok ceramic sculptures made from terracotta stand out for their stunning imagination, design, and uniqueness in combined medium and genre. Masks provide a widespread and incredible diverse format for creativity and expression among African cultures because of their medium, however frequently in wood base with a broad array of added material. We mainly have more recent examples of what is almost certainly an extremely ancient art form. Like so many African art, the global art for the matter, masks were frequently carved for ceremonial and ritual purposes. In many cases, masks were believed to be infused with spiritual essence and some even dark and dangerous power. Such masks were generally kept hidden away when more in ritual use, or sometimes even destroyed after a particular ritual was concluded. This power to channel spiritual forces or beings could also take a more positive and public form in the Dan culture. For example, marriage masks for brides and groom allow them to recreate a mythological first marriage and connect a present moment and a mythical ancient past in the ordinary with the supernatural. African masks are more often uniform, though they depict animals as well, such as elephants or gazelles, depending on the region and culture. The carving styles varies from highly realistic to highly exaggerated and abstract. The dramatic angles and planes of West African masks, for instance, influence the works of Picasso. Benin masks can be eerily lifelike across in a variety of media. Dan masks elaborate upon a set styled characteristics according to the creativity and prestige of the carver. Baal masks can be quite abstract and symbolic. One type, for example, called a goli, emerges the characteristics of the sun and the buffalo. Again, we can only speculate about ancient mask art, but the prominence of art masks in more recent times in Africa throughout the world, as well as the enduring connection to the religious practice and fundamental social rituals, makes it extremely likely that the mask tradition has sprung from ancient roots. As with much of its visual art, traditional African architecture was constructed from non-durable materials. A few examples exist outside of Egypt and Nubia, modern Sudan, but architecture and the artistic imagination behind it refers as to much of the layout of the built environment as a particular building or building style. In recent years, the work of ecomathematics has revealed an exciting component of African artistic design in the form of fractal geometry. Put simply, fractals refer to the repetition of a particular seed shape or diminishing, increasing scale that can theoretically stretch into infinity. Dr. Ron Eglesh, in his work African Fractals, has noted this phenomenon not only with the architectural layout, but in sculpture, textiles, patterns, religious symbols, and even, believe it or not, hairstyles. Fractal geometry in the arts seems to be a distinguishing feature in the African art, differentiating it from Western styles while demonstrating a high conceptual sophistication. So as a lesson summary, let's review the main facts we've covered in this lesson. The creative sculptures of the sub-Saharan Africa are heavily performative and oral. Visual arts genres and categories tend to be figurative, emphasizing on the human form in 3 dimensions and functions. Resource limitations resulted in the use of mainly biodegradable artistic material or mediums. Ancient rocks or carvings or petroglyphs, however, which are found throughout Africa, are durable 2D exceptions. African artists have also worked with metal and ceramics on a limited basis. Examples: the use of bronze and copper dating back 3,000, 5,000 years ago, and a stunning knock sculpture in terracotta. Masks, mostly carved from wood, are distinctive and probably ancient African art form. They are strongly associated with the ritual and spiritual expressions and are both the physical art and traditional architectural design revealed on the underlying fractal patterns, a distinct trait that distinguishes it from its Western artistic practices. Thank you very much for joining my lesson today.